Supervisor Delmer.
Well, Mr. Chairman, in regard to this application, I'm going to start off with some general comments here, because as we stated earlier, this is the EIR that's going to evaluate the impacts. And we have the ability, when all that data comes back, to determine if the decision is the proper one or not. There's no guarantee that what we move forward today in the EIR is what is actually going to make it into the general plan. It's not a given. There are some issues that are going to need to be examined with this parcel, actually, and the next one, Mr. Mackins as well. Issues of the floodplain, issues of flood period with the dam inundation, and issues of fire, issues that are going to be probably a little more specific to this area because of the lack of services. When the mill was there, the mill had the advantage of having a warning system if there was flooding issues. It also had its own fire. That's not there anymore. Those are issues that I assume will be developed or examined in the EIR. So when those issues are examined, that data is presented to us, we can make the determination on how that is proceeded. This is not a subdivision stage either. So those issues that will come up if and when there's ever a subdivision, such as the clustering, how big and where, that is yet to be determined. Is that correct, Mr. Gorney?
Well, our recommendation would be that we include general plan policy language for this particular site in concert with what's been agreed to with the owner, and that sets the stage. Now, it does not preclude change down the road. It could be that the hearing bodies, starting with the Planning Commission and then yourselves sitting to hear the general plan, would have some change. But I think that what we are trying to do, we're doing in good faith, and we would promote and we would support these applications as we're recommending them to you. I think it would be duplicitous of us to not do that after going through the 2 iterations that we have with these parcels. And we would indicate, for example, to the Planning Commission how we have reached this point, therefore, again, setting the stage. We will look programmatically, as we've indicated, at impacts generally. There may be issues that do come up at the subdivision stage, at the development stage. And those issues can be handled in a mitigated negative declaration. They can be handled with any additional supporting documentation that may be required. They can be handled with the proper conditioning of the applications. And we have experience with that. You have experience with that way of assuring that certain things happen, get done, and impacts are addressed. So to that extent, I agree with everything that you're saying.
And the comments that you and I both made are not specific to Mr. Simpson's, or for that matter, Mr. Mackin's property either. That's the case for anything we move forward with today.
Oh, well, yes, of course it is, yes.
So given that understanding for Mr. Simpson and Mr. Chairman, I know you're going one at a time, but there's really not much difference between the two. In regard to Mr. Mackin's as well, I would support leaving those, support the revised request and have that evaluated as Group 1.
So that's a motion for Simpson and Mackin to be moved into
Are we
Group 1.
doing motions on each one of these? We'll be here all night.
Just
Or we're just
direction.
Direct?
Just direction.
Okay.
04-2007, 09-2007.
Any opposition to that direction? Hearing and seeing none, it's so ordered. Next item, Harwood, GP-20, 2007.
I think we should put it as staff recommendation that it's included in Group 1.
All
I
right,
concur.
concur? All right, so ordered. Anderson, GPU 14-207.
Go with staff recommendation.
Yes,
All right,
concur.
Any problem with that? Okay, so ordered. Mr. Murphy, GPU 10207.
Question for staff.
Question to staff.
Originally, this was in a group 4, is that correct, Mr. Gorning?
Yes, we can confirm that, just looking at the prior staff report. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I'm not as comfortable with this one moving forward. Based on what I've heard, I have concerns. So if this was to remain in group 4, I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I have concerns as well with that one.
Okay, sounds like 4, I'll make it 5, leave it in group 4 then. So that takes up the 6 applications that were referred to staff back in January. Let's take up the general question of whether or not we want to address the additional 4 applications.
One was withdrawn.
Yeah.
If you're asking for a concurrence on whether to entertain these next 4, I would concur with that.
There's 2 for taking them up.
Yeah.
3, Supervisor?
Sure, to consider them, yes.
4, 5, okay, we'll take them up. So what we have before us is 4 additional applications. Let's take the first one, GPU 01-2006, Apperson.
Mr. Chairman, this was a substantial change from staff described, and I think what's being presented now is supportable, so I would go with the staff's recommendation of putting this in group 1.
Okay,
Yeah.
2, 3,
Question for the chair, are we making actual recommendations on these today? I thought we were just going to decide if we were going to reconsider and that at a future date, we would be able to get the additional information.
no, I understood differently than that. Question A was to take them under consideration, and 2, we have staff reports, if we decided to move those forward, to take them up individually as staff is requesting. So we've made the first decision, we're going to take them under consideration, and 2, take them up individually.
Well, my
So I-
understanding from Mr. Gorney was, he said we would need, one was a judgment call, he felt we would need more testimony. I don't know that I would feel better if we were going to do this at a future point in time. I don't know that everyone's been noticed, and
3 of the 4 are actual recommendations. GPU 16-2007, Logan, was somewhat ambiguous. There was no recommendation, and I fully believe, let's take up the 3 with the recommendations, and then we can have some discussion on the Logan application.
Mr. Chairman, if I could clarify that, yes, indeed, all of these applications did receive notice. The adjacent property owners all received notice, a written notice by letter.
Okay, so we have made a pretty good improvement over the last time then in notifications, et cetera.
Yep.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Prince.
our agenda title is review and provide direction regarding private applications for the general plan. So I think we need to move these forward.
Okay, so we've taken up the first one, Mr. Apperson. Sorry, I'm taking notes here.
Mr. Chairman, on the 45007,